Hi, cities. How are you doing? Welcome tonight. I hope you are great. Let me tell you all something. One thing I know about Black people is that when they say that they are not doing this, they have their reason for saying it. You may actually not see that reason, but if you sit back, you definitely will see the reason why they say, or like it will be very obvious too, right? So you all remember that Black people, said that they are focusing on themselves for now and all that, which is absolutely great. So there is this pro-Palestinian movement man. He is Muslim, Arab Muslim, right? So he was streaming. I mean, he is always at the forefront of what is going on in Palestine. So he was streaming, and people were asking him, "Why is it that you were not talking about what is going on in Sudan and other countries?" And this guy said, "You blacks!" I mean, like he was really very pissed. And he was now saying that Black people are the ones doing it. And I am asking, what is wrong with people asking you why you are not talking about what is going on in other countries? Because you and I know that they made it look like it's only in Palestine that there is genocide. So he became really very furious and warned Black people never to. And the way he said it got Black people really talking. Now, let me tell you this. It was okay for Black people to be at the forefront for everybody, for you people, for other people, right? But you cannot speak about what is going on in other countries, and now you turned it to Black and Arab problems and all that. Black people were right, and they are never wrong. Let's get into this video.
When is the last time you spoke about Sudan? I'm gonna fucking ether you. Any other black folk want to engage in radical activist language in this fucking chat? You stupid.
So Hassan, I watched that clip where you got on that chatter for telling you to talk about Sudan, and honestly, to me, it's like when are folks gonna realize that as a non-black person, you can't be out here using an uppercase B when you say black. Like it makes you sound like Bull Connor. You sound like you're from Rome, Georgia. You sound like Martin Taylor Greene. You sound racist as shit. It's because y'all niggas be using that uppercase B. You be like, black. It's like, whoa. Calm down. Who you feeling like? This isn't just for a song, too. It's like, bro, these non-black people be like, and these black people like, whoa, relax, twin. What? It's like, who are you feeling like? Like, bro, come down with that, Hassan. All these non-black folks, come down with that shit. I'm crying. Just say black. You see on a lowercase letter, black. You don't gotta come like black. No. Just black, not black. Black. like, calm the fuck down. What are you feeling like?
Hassan's fan base is the same as any right-wing content creator, but it's just like in a different font. You know what I mean? Because it's like they constantly come up with all these explanations and excuses for anti-black and racist behaviors. Because like him screaming black in that tone, it has like racist undertones to it. You know what I mean? And like you're not going to be able to understand that if you're not black. You're not going to be able to understand that unless you've had a white person speak to you in that manner and speak to you with that much like aggression, you know what I mean? And the reason why these white folks and non-black folks that follow Hassan or really any other content creator on the left or the right give these kind of excuses all the time is because they don't see anything wrong with it, because they think that you have to be outwardly and violently racist in order to be an actual racist. They don't understand that racism is very silent and very subtle. And they can't wrap their minds around their favorite content creator being racist. And it's more egregious whenever it comes to like left-wing creators, because like normally it's going to be obviously racist whenever it's coming from the right, but like it's so much more subtle whenever it's like people on the left. And it's really frustrating because like as a black person, you constantly have people telling you that this isn't racist when it clearly is. You know what I mean? And like this is why I don't like really follow anybody who's like white and constantly talking about politics, because the anti-blackness is most likely going to come out at some point in time, and I'd rather just stay away from it. You know what I mean? I don't really follow Hassan shit like that for real, because again, I'm not getting my politics from white folks. And do I think that he gets a lot of hate unnecessarily? Absolutely. It happens to anybody on the internet who like posts enough and has like a big enough platform. But like this is a clear situation where like he is clearly being anti-black and he needs to like readjust himself.
I know America don't give a damn about anti-blackness because Hassan Piker's detractors, right, tried to use the dog situation. Remember what his dog Kaya said? Might have been a collar, might have been scraping it. And they tried to use that as the way to get him up out the paint. And I was like, guys, from a political spectrum thing, I was like, don't let that work on you. But what they should be using to get that boy out the paint is how he got very, very feisty, or gets very feisty, if I'm being honest, from what I've seen, about anything involving black voters or understanding black people as it relates to their decisions in the polls or what candidates they choose to support. And I think that's a fair thing that people should be able to have a conversation with you about. Because the same system you're trying to fight, you should understand that it lets anti-blackness, seep into you. And then it's deep rooted. We all have to do the work. That's how the system was created, right? Whether you're white, whether you think, oh, well, I'm Arabic, I'm Turkish, or whether you're black. Like, that's one thing I've learned about anti-blackness. I take that motherfucker seriously. I would look at myself and like, ooh, people try to get self-hatred within me. It's not paranoia. It's just the truth. This is the system, and that's the foundation which the system was built upon, right? So the context is this. If you haven't seen the clip, right? So I believe he was having a discussion about voting demographics, and somebody in the chat, from what I saw, I didn't see the whole stream, goes, hey, you always have this to say about black voters. When was the last time you spoke about Sudan? Right? Which I understand from a creative perspective or a stream perspective or commentator perspective. You don't like gotcha moments, but that don't mean you got to now turn into, you know what I'm saying? He says it himself. You got to turn into now, you know what I'm saying, a hooded fellow. You get what I'm trying to say? And he said himself, it's like, all right, every time I talk about, then you guys are going to label me a white. Nah, just do the work, brother. But anyway, I just thought I found that interesting. I think there's valid critiques to be had here. That doesn't mean that I think it's okay for people to mistreat their dogs. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is very telling. It's very telling how much traction the maybe what happened to the dog is gonna catch versus hey, whether you're a good political commentator or not, that wasn't right. You ain't got to crash out like that over a question about Sudan, and some of the things you were saying about black people was getting very, very.
Hassan talks too much. All he had to do when somebody said, you don't know black people, he could have been like, oh, okay, and then kept talking about polling. That person is talking about their lived experience. You're talking about polling. You're talking about analysis and statistics. And this person is talking about his grandma, his auntie. These are two very different conversations. And Hassan could have just like assessed that and been like, oh, okay. But he didn't. He let his ego, which he tends to have, go unchecked. And that's what happens with this person, over and over again. I don't even know if his stream has a producer. It should. Ideally, you would have a producer screening your comments for you to reply to and giving you notes on camera so that you don't have to go through things like this. The chatter doesn't have to go through it either. Influencers crash out. You don't see yourself as an influencer, and yet you crashed out. Because at the end of the day, this will affect
Craziest thing about the Hassan situation is I do understand where he was coming from. I have made a couple of videos about this, but whenever people do bring up Sudan and Congo, whenever somebody else is talking about Palestine, the person is often not advocating for Sudan and Congo. It's often they're often trying to be like a contrarian. They're trying to say you care about this issue, you don't care about these issues, but they're not advocating for the issue itself. They're just kind of using it as a gotcha, and they're using these people's pain and suffering to score internet points and say that they care more about one issue than it's a whole bunch of bullshit. So I understand where he was coming from. It was just that, mind you, I don't even like Hassan for real. It was the black, it was the way he responded. It's the way he said black folks like it was a slur. And to be fair, Sudan and Congo are real issues that have been trivialized to create division between the Palestinian movements and their movement. And I think he has gone on record saying that he is not educated enough about Sudan to properly advocate for it. And I understand he's just on stream 8 hours of the day, rage baiting himself, but maybe he was a little short about it. But I don't know. I feel like at the end of the day, you could have as a nigga whose job is streaming, like your personality is your entire career, all you got is your name and your image, I feel like you could have pulled it back a little bit. You could have had a little bit.
Just know that Hassan be saying nigga and hard R behind closed doors. This is coming for somebody that didn't know who he was until he shocked his dog. I'm basing this off the things I've seen and heard him say through recent or old clips. First off, why did a comment about Sudan get you that upset? That upset that you banned the person in 2 seconds. Not only were you so aggressive, your tone, your response was aggressive. Why did he say it was radical? Talking about Sudan is not radical. Like, hello? If that's the case, then talking about Palestine and, you know what I'm saying? Not only that, he called black issues culture wars. Are we serious? He also kind of applied black people's opinions don't matter. For what I've heard and seen in research, I haven't seen one time that he's uplifted, supported any black content creators. Look at his friend group. Is there anything missing? From what I can see and what I can tell, I really think he's performative. I don't think he believes anything that he says. He just says certain things to reach out to a certain audience. It's just me telling the truth. And like I said, coming from somebody that didn't know who he was, I just knew his name. I should have known something was off when he shocked his dog and lied about it. Lied about it multiple times in multiple ways. Then the creator of the shot collar came and said, yeah, that's a shot collar. Whoever has this shot collar, cut off the prongs and put duct tape over it. Some type of film over it. Me getting all this from just the recent clips and some old clips, it makes me start to wonder about his group. People he be with, because they be so quick to defend him, and if he's wrong, they're not going to speak up about it. You know, they say birds of a feather flock together.
Was something really gross about the way that Hassan Piker went off on his chatter yesterday who asked about Sudan. Like, I honestly, it had a particular, you know, as a black person, you know when somebody's saying something when they're saying something. Like, it just had that little extra umph on the back, a little extra anti-blackness on the back of it. I'm a context girly, so I may go try to find the stream because I subscribe to Hassan. I watch him regularly. I know he goes off on his chatters. I'm gonna go try to find the stream and get the context before the clip. Hassan, yuck. Like something else came out. Like something else was in that. That black folk, you rad libs, you vote against your own interests. Hassan, bro, ugh, yuck.
I don't want to say that I was proven right necessarily because my observation about Hassan Piker was completely anecdotal and based off of an interview that happened between Crackhead Barney, Pierce Morgan, and he was on the show. But a lot of these niche subculture, internet memer, political commentator type people, they tend to harbor anti-blackness and be anti-black. Now, the reason for this, I think, is a little bit more complicated than solely, oh, they are just a person of color, they're not black, they're anti-black. I think it's actually, and it ties into what's currently happening with Tyler, the Creator, as well. It's people who are public figures, have built audiences, coming from the permeating influence of Vice magazine that in turn influenced contemporary social media culture, YouTube, political commentators. It influenced journalism, alternative journalism, gonzo journalism. And so a lot of these people who've risen, even if they weren't directly involved with Vice magazine, but they have an audience that had an overlap with it, and they themselves grew up during that time, which Hassan Piker is one of those people. The streaming, the video games, and all that also have to are in this as well. They, like, niche subculture, I don't know why, it tends to be connected to anti-blackness. And you see this also in corporate culture too, but in niche subcultures, I think the catch-22 with that is that because they are not the norm, and they've deviated from the norm of polite European, Anglo-Saxon, English culture, there's this feeling that they shouldn't harbor similar anti-black feelings. But, and this is why I really do believe like Gavin McInnes is the mastermind of all this BS. Because Gavin McInnes, I think, is a neo-Nazi. I just think Gavin McInnes is neo-Nazi. I think Gavin McInnes was indoctrinated in neo-Nazism in metal and punk scenes in Toronto. I just think it. It's a allegation I'm putting out on him. It's not true. It's not false. It's something I think. And use Vice magazine as a place to indoctrinate youth into anti-blackness and racism. And it fell apart when he left, and then he subsequently went into Street Boners. He tried to restart it by doing Street Boners. What's the Vice list, the do's and the don'ts. He tried to do street photography, subculture building, and then right around the turn of Donald Trump's 2016 election, he then started inviting neo-Nazi writers onto his site. He started, inviting people who held very extremist far-right views, which was like a complete kind of pivot from the culture, social commentary stuff that was happening on Vice. which I think was by design, because it's traditional neo-Nazi propaganda that he was building. So when we talk about people like Tyler the Creator and why he was acting the way he was acting 2015, 2000, or not, that's actually later on, but 2000, maybe it was the same time, but in 2011, 2010, it was because Tyler was consuming the same amount of content from these like gonzo journalists, hipster, alternative press circuits. So yeah, he'll get on stage. I'll get back to this on. He'll get on stage and he'll say something that's like kind of shock jockey, like, you know, F these N-words, F black people, like whatever, as a black guy, right? So he's like taking this sort of like punk F black people thing, which wasn't coming from black people, didn't start that, white people start the F black people thing as a punk declaration, and then jackass, and then all this media. You can go and watch Tyler's show that was on Adult Swim. I mean, he was very much indoctrinated in this particular matrix that was being created out of alternative independent media. Then this is where Hassan comes in. Please, please, please follow. This is where Hassan comes in. So Hassan started at the Young Turks. I think Hassan's about 33, 32, 34. Video gamer, streamer, memer, definitely on the he's in the memes, okay? He's in the internet culture, and he's a political, quote-unquote, leftist. But that also doesn't mean that he's not incentivized by capital, and we all know that capital in the United States of America is a racialized system. Capitalism is a racialized system. In other parts of the world we can say it is, capitalism is racist, but I'm going to say just American capitalism specifically is tied to racism because of chattel slavery and just labor in the United States, and the history of labor in the United States. And so Hassan Piker may know this, may not know it, may not need to know it, doesn't care. He is indoctrinated in the same thing that Tyler is indoctrinated in. He just happens to say things that are more politically grounded, of course, because he's a bachelor's of science in political science. He worked with his cousin, Chink, for the Young Turks. He worked at the Young Turks. So he is smarter than most, more politically savvy than most. But that doesn't mean that he isn't also an entertainer. Hassan Piker is an entertainer. It also doesn't mean that he's not a bit of a niche person that might be a part of a niche kind of subculture, gamers, maybe crypto adjacent people. It's giving crypto. Hassan is always giving crypto to me. And so him holding anti-black feelings or beliefs is not odd to me. And that's also this is a more broad take that I have, but it plays into everything that's going on with neoliberal hell. It plays, if you're familiar with that Instagram, it plays into everything that's going with the dirtbag left, with the Red Scare. It plays, it's all, these are the children of an architecture that was inherently anti.
When is the last time you spoke about Sudan? I'm gonna fucking ether you. Any other black folk want to engage in radical activist language in this fucking chat? You stupid fucking radlib. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of my chat.
Anyway, here's 9 minutes of what we had to say when we were asked to speak about Sudan. This covers everything from 1800 to 2024. And then when you're done, please check out the caption for ways you can support organizations that are on the ground in Sudan, helping people survive through the genocide. Thank you. Those damn Africans are always killing each other, aren't they? That's typically how the international community views conflict and war all across the continent. And the sad irony is that these statements are made by people who are quite literally sitting on top of African wealth stolen from us because of these wars that are often funded by several regional hegemons. You'll notice that I didn't just say Western powers because it's not always that simple. I posted this back in May when the fighting first broke out, and more than 6 months later, it is still 100% true. If you're following these amazing Sudani creators up here, then you already know the background story of the conflict between Burhan and Hemedti. Please make sure you're following them for daily updates coming out of Sudan. In this video, I want to talk about the role of the United Arab Emirates in Sudan. This is a story about colonization, gold, including Russia, including the United States, including Israel. Everybody's in this. But don't get overwhelmed. We'll go through this together. You've heard of Darfur in relation to the genocide that began in 2003. But before all of this, Darfur was an independent sultanate that was then incorporated into Sudan by Anglo-Egyptian forces back in 1916. Now, the desire to have Darfur become part of Sudan came from the fact that Sudan was once part of Egypt in 1874, including Darfur. The Anglo-Egyptian Agreement of 1899 helped Egypt recapture Darfur and Sudan in general with the assistance of the British. And when I say with the assistance of the British, I mean that the British effectively owned Sudan. We've talked time and time again about how careless colonial borders have fueled deep conflict between different African ethnic groups. And unfortunately, Sudan is a key representative of this. We saw this when South Sudan broke away into its own new country back in 2011. The secession can be attributed to multiple reasons, but one key issue was at the helm. The central government in Khartoum had a history of neglecting economic development of the South, and this was actually the case even during colonization. Given the fact that South Sudan had all of Sudan's oil, it should have been able to reap benefits from this resource. However, the pipelines and refineries were actually in the north. With Khartoum also being in the north, this allowed the central government to concentrate the benefits of the oil in the north as well. Darfur in the west also faced similar neglect from Khartoum. There was also the added issue of Sudan's Arabized national identity being at odds with the non-Arab identities of many communities in Darfur. Remember how I said that Darfur used to be an independent sultanate? Well, the neglect and discrimination coming from the central government in Khartoum materialized into unequal water access and unequal land distribution between Arabized and non-Arabized groups. This mobilized a lot of separatist sentiments amongst three key groups in Darfur: the Four, the Zagawa, and the Masalit ethnic groups in particular. This is in spite of the fact that Darfur actually has over 80 ethnic groups. So whenever you hear of rebels in Darfur, these are typically secessionist groups made up of those three ethnic groups that I mentioned. These are the groups that were targeted in the Darfur genocide in 2003, and that continue to be targeted to this day. So who is targeting them? The RSF. RSF stands for Rapid Support Forces, and they're under the leadership of Hemeti. During the 2003 Darfur genocide, the despicable Omar al-Bashir was unfortunately the head of state at the time. Operating from Khartoum, he mobilized a militia to go and wipe out the Fours, the Zagawa, the Masalit, and other groups in Darfur that were secessionists. This militia is called the Janjaweed, and its members are what makes up the RSF today. This is the group that is backed by the United Arab Emirates. Janjaweed has essentially picked up, called itself a different name, and is continuing the atrocities they were once committing back in 2003 in Darfur. But there's a key difference this time, and that is gold. The main motivation of the first phase of the genocide 20 years ago was ethnic cleansing. But today, the added complexity of the gold has brought in so many more actors. So let's dive into that. One thing you need to know about Hemeti is that he owns the Jebel Amir gold mine in Darfur, and he's owned it since 2017. This gold plays a number of roles. Number one, it funds activities of the RSF, of course. Part of these operations include providing boots on the ground in Yemen on behalf of the UAE. Russia also sees Sudan as an important strategic partner because of its mercenary group, Wagner. Wagner is involved in a lot of places in Africa, most notably in Libya, and a lot of these operations are bankrolled by gold from Sudan. This gold has become even more important as sanctions placed on Russia for its invasion of Ukraine has caused it to be more reliant on gold than ever before. The RSF and the UAE have partnered in order to ensure that Russia receives this gold so that it can continue its invasion of Ukraine. Hemeti's forces guard the gold and then ship it to the UAE because the UAE, most notably Dubai, is a hub for gold trading where it can turn this gold into cash to go and finance Russia's operations. Now, throughout all these transactions, of course, the UAE also gains its gold. Again, boots on the ground in Yemen, but there's other key benefits that it also gets out of this relationship with Hemeti, and that is the opportunity to become the hegemonic power in the Gulf. Over at Tip and Politic, we did an episode as to why Qatar hosted the World Cup, and it had to do with oil, or the lack thereof. One of the issues that Gulf states are worried about is their oil eventually running out. And this is a large concern because their oil has been the source of their immense wealth. And like any financial advisor will tell you, the key to managing your wealth is diversifying. And that is essentially what Qatar was trying to do by hosting the World Cup. Not only would it bring attention to itself via tourism, but also via foreign direct investments, via businesses moving headquarters to Qatar, etc. All of these are revenue-driving efforts that many Gulf states are involved in, including the ridiculous architectural projects that never really seem to come to fruition, except maybe the Palm Jumeirah and the Burj Khalifa. But yeah, those are all part of a move away from oil. Go listen to that episode if you want to learn more, but I don't want to focus too much on Qatar because this is about the UAE and those are separate countries. But the motivations are the same. A partnership with the RSF provides access to minerals, aka the gold, access to farmland to begin agricultural projects to ensure that its citizens are fed, and access to Red Sea trade routes. Whoever owns the Red Sea owns everything, which is going to be a key element in being able to wrestle Gulf hegemony away from Saudi Arabia. Speaking of Saudi Arabia, while the UAE is out here scheming for the gold, it in turn is trying to play a role as a humanitarian, which is a very strange role for it to play for obvious reasons. So it's simultaneously giving aid and charity to displaced people in Sudan, whilst also backing up Hemedti's opponent, Burhan, who is also a war criminal and directly responsible for the displacement that Saudi Arabia is now trying to resolve via charity and aid. Saudi is also hoping that its partnership with Burhan enables it again to gain access to farmland as well. And in short, both the UAE and Saudi are both helping to fund atrocities for their own gain. And because they're both US allies, the US stands to win regardless of which guy gets to have control over Sudan. And of course, the United States backing of apartheid Israel is directly related to this. Before the fighting between Hemedti and Burhan broke out into all-out war, there was a transitional government put into place that was supposed to lead to civilian leadership instead of military leadership. This was supposed to be Sudan being able to usher in a democratic process after years and years and years of dictatorship and military rule. The problem is that the chairman of that government was Burhan, and Hemedti was his second in command. There were also civilian officers involved in this transitional government, but when Burhan dismantled it, there was really no way to stand up to him effectively. The freedom-loving and democracy-loving United States saw this transpiring, but decided instead to strike up agreements with both Burhan and Hemedti instead of putting them to task for destroying the democratic process that was part of the original agreement. And one of the reasons why the United States took this approach was because of Sudan's normalization agreement with Israel. These normalization agreements are called the Abraham Accords. Both Sudan and the UAE have signed the Abraham Accords, which ultimately benefits the United States and Israel. And these agreements are deals brokered by the ultimate sacrifice: human lives. Human lives in Sudan, human lives in Yemen, human lives in Palestine, human lives everywhere. Paying attention to foreign policy really shows you how interconnected all of our oppression is. So what are some key takeaways from this long video? Number one, gold in the UAE, specifically in Dubai, is a conflict mineral. I alluded to this post by Red Matt on Instagram, please go follow them, about how to boycott the UAE. And like I said, gold, 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 gold. That's an easy one to just knock off your list. Dates, make sure they're not from the UAE. And then not going to Dubai. That's a really easy, simple one. Not just Dubai, but the UAE in general. This is especially key in light of what I said about how Gulf states are trying to diversify their sources of income. Tourism is a massive, massive cash cow for the UAE. And if we're able to make a dent in it, that makes a difference. Another takeaway, I've been seeing commentary about Saudi cracking down on people who are on Hajj in Mecca wearing the kufiya. And people have been in dismay that Saudi could be doing this when Palestine is under attack by Israel. But Saudi is on the road to normalizing relations with Israel. Saudi is a US ally, and so is Israel. So that is where that is coming from. To liberate Palestine is to liberate Sudan. To liberate Sudan is to liberate Congo. To liberate Congo is to liberate Yemen, and so on and so forth. I hope you learned something from this video and that you go forth and do even more research. Please let me know if you have any other questions. And as always, please keep speaking out about Sudan, about Congo, about Palestine. None of us are free until all of us are free.
Hi, I'm here to talk very quickly about this Hassan Piker situation, being that I am a person who is Sudanese and talks about Sudan. Now, I don't know him from a can of paint. I don't know him. I recently started seeing his clips on this app, and I saw the clip of him popping off at the mouth at somebody asking him about Sudan. Whether he talks about Sudan or not, I don't know, and really it's irrelevant to the point I'm trying to make right now. As a person who does talk about Sudan constantly, I'm tired. I'm tired of us being wielded like this for internet discourse, and then nothing coming out of it, and then nothing coming out of it, and then nothing coming out of it. Here's the thing: he's not the only one. Some of the same people faulting him for this are also guilty of the same. It's not enough to just say Hassan Piker didn't talk about Sudan, or Hassan Piker had a horrible reaction to being asked about Sudan. He did. For sure he did. But وبعدك, as we say in Sudan. And then what? Why is the conversation stopping there? Why is the conversation not continuing on to, You know, he should talk about Sudan because this is happening, because that is happening, because Sudanese people are going through this. I feel like people don't realize that there are real people behind the issues that we exchange as hashtag discourse. There are real people behind those things. There are real Sudanese people with you on this app right now who are feeling the effects not only of this conflict, but of consistently talking about and trying to raise awareness about this conflict and getting nowhere. Hassan Piker has, I don't know how many followers. Like I said, I don't know him from a can of paint, but sure, he has reach. You know who else would have reach? If all of us talked about Sudan instead of just one person talking about Sudan, we would compensate for that reach. We would already have that reach. We would do that. We would be the reach. If all of us who complained about Hassan Piker's reaction actually then followed up by talking about Sudan, then we wouldn't need Hassan Piker. He would be irrelevant. In fact, he is irrelevant. And you know why? Because the information is already out there. There are already people who have dedicated their time and efforts in all sorts of ways to raise awareness about what's happening in Sudan. We don't need that one person. But it's a question of, are you interested in finding that information? Are you interested in not looking to those three people?
This is all I got from this video. And let me tell Black people something, you know? If you have been on this channel for a long time, you definitely will know that I was really very active with Palestine movement, right? Because also Black people were very active too. So while that was going on, I was also doing Sudan, Congo, and other countries, right? But when the disrespect on Black people started, I stopped talking about them. That was when I also found out the anti-Blackness that runs in their community or around them. So this Hassan, right, was streaming. You know, they are so active with free Palestine, free Palestine, free Palestine. Then, you know, at some point, I think I said last year, let's say last year, right? I was asking, why is it that it's only Palestine? Because I also asked him, everybody's always talking about, they don't talk about Congo, they don't talk about Sudan, they don't talk about Haiti and all that. Why are they not speaking? Black people now said that it is because of the anti-Blackness that runs in them that made them not talk about anything that got to do with Black. Because everybody think that they are better than Black people. And people were also talking so much about what is going on in Palestine because they are not Black. So this young man was streaming a few days ago, and people asked him, why are you guys only focusing on Palestine? What happened to Sudan? What happened to Congo? Because genocide is also going down there. And he said, you Blacks, I am sure you heard it. So that was in a slow way. You also heard it. Like, you all get away. That this is how it came out. I mean, why is it that you all will always ask, what about Sudan when we are talking about? Yes, there is need to talk about Sudan and other people because you all made it look like, because Black people at some point said it is time for us to take care of our home. So for that reason, they started talking about their own American history. That was where the problem started. Now, at least we can see you for who you are. Not like I don't know that you guys have always been anti-Black. I mean, the anti-Blackness that runs in them is just excess. They want Black people to help them, but they will never, ever help Black people. They want you to be at the forefront of what is happening or what is going on in their country. But they also do not want to be at the forefront of what is going on in other countries and all that. They made it look like the genocide is also happening. It's only in their country, when it is happening in other places. So the only people they also told black people, if you are not going to focus on us, you have to really be selfish. You know, you have to only focus on us and don't give other people attention. I have never seen selfish people like this. See, I don't know how to describe this, but one thing I want black people to know is that some people can never be for you. That's why I keep saying some of them are leech. They only come to leech you and run away. They will never help you with anything. They will never uplift you with anything. The only thing they are very much interested in is taking from you and going away. And how long do you want to continue to take from somebody without giving? Eventually, the person will be woke. You know? It's equal give and take. But in a situation, you all try to tell black people that they are stupid, or tell other people that they are stupid, they don't know what they are doing. That is where the problem starts. That's why you all are having problems. You all said Kamala Harris was the problem. Then they voted in this person. How far now? So far. And where is Justine that you all were hoping to be your savior? Where is she? She is chilling with Russian president, because I saw the pictures. Russian president and one Jewish man. I can't remember his name. If I check it, I absolutely will give you the name of the person, because I saw it. Man, see, you see, if it's not black people, on a very serious note, count me out of it. And this is also one of the reasons why I keep telling black people that anybody that is doing activism, I do not trust them. Why? Because the anti-blackness that runs in them will eventually come out. And when it comes out, do not give excuses. Like, I am not making excuse for anybody. I have never been. Maybe when I started talking about black people, I was, because I felt like some things are like they were not real. But now that I know better, no excuses for anybody. Whatever you give me out, I say it the way it is. Or whatever you did to my people, I say it the way it is. I will draw the curtain here. Bye for now.